Customer relationship management will wrap up our entire digital section. And it's kind of fitting because what customer relationship management does is tie everything together. When you're a marketing centric company, the thing is that marketing data that you get, you need to disseminate between everyone. It needs to become part of like your DNA. And CRM used to be about how you manage the customer, how do you follow up with them, how do you store their information. Well, even if you're a small startup, if you've got 500 emails, what are you going to do with that? Now, there are related smaller software packages, let me say that, like SRMs and things like that. Or is it SSN? I forget the acronyms. But anyway, which are actually cheaper and more manageable. But eventually you're going to reach a CRM system. And so what it comes down to is how do I tie all this together? Not only do I have to connect with these, the whole point to this digital marketing is that I can personalize everything, but I have to bring them all together. And that bringing them all together is what my CRM system is all about. And so when I look at the funnel of getting my customers and keeping them and growing them. Now the key part is where I do lock in and lock out. But CRM impacts this entire journey and this whole viral loop because I'm trying to institute essentially referrals and everything else. And so this is the journey I want to take my customer about. Essentially, CRMs are about developing long-term relationships with my customers so that they're satisfied. The way corporations and large companies work is you have an enterprise system. And the enterprise system takes care of your financial management and your project reporting and everything else. And CRM is just one component of these large software systems. And essentially, this is what a CRM covers. Essentially, it's the support of your customer. How do I do my marketing? How do I look at my sales data? And how do I take care of orders? Essentially, it covers everything. So in terms of my digital journey, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to attract customers. And so whether it's email or SEO, then I want to target and I want to retarget them. And that's that my A/B testing or whatever figures out, what's the best way to talk to these customers. But what ends up happening is that the first time I'll cover a certain group. But then what I do is, there's this whole big pool that still might be good. There still might be something to mine there. So that's what retargeting is about. I go back again and look for people to target. And then finally my digital journey ends when I can convert and start making money. In terms of my digital journey, these are some of the metrics that we've talked about that I want to measure. Whether it's my conversion rate to my cost per click. Essentially, it's about attracting customers, targeting and retargeting, landing them, converting them over to become long-term customers. In terms of economics, a lot depends on what is the nature of my customer. Is he there for a quick stop? Is this going to be long-term or whatever? There's a big difference between a QT customer and a Nordstrom customer. In terms of cost of customer acquisition, this is a very basic cost sheet. And essentially, I can figure out how much it's going to cost me based on essentially how many people do I need, what are the expenses of like websites and things like that. And then it comes down to how many deals are these guys going to create. And that gives me my cost of customer acquisition. But what it comes down to is when I look at, for a web business, what kind of performance it is, it comes down to what the conversion rate is. And these are pretty standard numbers and how many people are going to convert that. And so the thing is, I come up with my cost of customer acquisition. And the thing for startups is you have to be careful who it is you're chasing. Now, in terms of my lifetime value of the customer, essentially if you're doing it by brute force, I'm trying to get out of the way of the sun. There's brute force. Essentially, it's just like literally figuring out what all the sales and income I'm making. And then there's the model, and that's essentially an equation to figure out the lifetime value. Uh, Churn has a tremendous effect on the lifetime value. And my retention costs are typically 4 to 10 times less than acquiring a new customer. Here's some more examples of uh, typical costs. Now, what it comes down to is my lifetime cost to my customer has to be greater than my cost of customer acquisition. And there's some constant they use. These are the rules of thumb that you go by. And so for like software as a service, that factor has to be 3. The rule of thumbs for cost of customer acquisition is when I create subscription businesses, I have to recoup my money within 12 months. If I have low-cost consumables, like toothpaste or something, they better go out and buy more within 3 months, so they're going to forget about me. And higher-cost consumables can go up to a year. The thing is, my lifetime value, the money I can get out of my customer, is about how often they buy and how much they buy. And the add-on value is, are they going to buy accessories? Can I upsell them? Can I cross-sell them? And cost of customer acquisition is about targeting. And that's that. I need to get that number down. I mean, if it's costing me $100,000, but I can get 1 million customers, all of a sudden now those customers only cost me a dime. But what it comes down to is I need to understand the life cycle of my product to do that. Here's some example of life cycle products, something like shampoo or toilet paper. Turns around fairly rapidly. But what it comes down, and another thing you're concerned about is how many people have to make this decision to actually purchase something. But here's some examples of a bunch of different products so you get a feel for it. The thing is, what it comes down to today, especially with products, is because we have so many options, people are very, very picky. And so what it comes down to is your expected quality, your perceived quality, and your experience quality. Are they all going to match up? Because that's going to tell me whether or not my customer is going to come back. And so I have all kinds of different customers, whether they're people who are really loyal to my product, like the Prius drivers, hostage customers. What are they? I don't like any of the airlines. But guess what? I don't have a choice. If you have to take the bus, how many choices do you have? Essentially, how many buses actually go over certain routes? Not very many. And so you also worry about terrorists. And I'm not talking about the type who are wearing bombs on jackets. I'm talking about the people who go on the internet and start saying nasty things about you. In terms of managing value, you're looking at what your customer habits are, and you're setting up your organization around those habits because you know what their timing is and everything else. And so what you're trying to do, and this goes all the way back to who the customer is you're managing their perceptions. And you also want to let them know what their options are. In terms of customer value, a department store, what do you want? You want it to be simple, you want it to be clean. Electronic equipment, when you purchase it, you want it to be simple. That's why they give you these, 4-page setup, manuals to the manual, just because you're trying to reduce the barriers, and this gets into education. They actually benchmark companies according to satisfaction index. And as you can see, the internet retailers, they don't do too bad. They get ratings in the 80s. But there actually are services that figure that out. In terms of relationship, what are the things that I can do to retain customers? One is, I need to reach out to you. I need to talk to you. I can keep you excited through contests or brand new special promotions for you. Things like information. I get tons of emails saying like, hey, look at our blog. Find out what's going on with this. Or emails. And of course, you want to build loyalty programs. There's something in terms of customer behavior called the FOG model. And what the fog model says is that the customer's behavior is equal to his motivation times his ability times what triggers him. And his ability is his ability to act. And I'll wrap up the rest of this lecture in the next video.